Well, good morning. This is Mr. Not Advice. It is Saturday, September 27th, 2025. This is my weekend update. And as always, this is for entertainment and education purposes only. Let's see. We had a really sort of a very busy week for our trading team. We were taking profits, scaling down, getting ready to get some capital ready for the next quarter. So, um, let's go through this. First thing I'm going to look at is so part of the reason this week that I was doing a lot of profit taking, scaling, locking in profits. When I say scale, I'm locking in profits, right? And part of the reason I was doing that was I was fairly heavy into the market. I'll show you that in a little bit. I had profits that I wanted to protect because seasonality, I knew the last part of September, the first week or two of October was going to be tricky. It's typically a volatile time in the market, but here's where we're at. We maybe have a couple more days of chop, and then October should be starting end of September, first week of October. We should start a multi-month rally. That's certainly what the market is setting up for. Looking at, you hear a lot about, oh, the market's overbought or the market's oversold. Well, one of the indicators that I look at is the sentiment indicator, and oddly enough, it's still in a negative zero point 0.6. It was negative zero point 0.9 a couple weeks ago, so it has improved, but we're not seeing anything near euphoria or euphoric uh, mood in the market. These charts are all courtesy of Morgan Stanley and Goldman, by the way. This shows the U.S. hedge fund exposure towards the Mag 7 as a percent of overall exposure. And look where we're at. I mean, over the last 5 years, we're in the second percentile. There is a lot of room for a nice Q4 melt up. As what's going to happen is they're going to be chasing returns into the end of the fourth quarter. Okay. Um, Last week there was a little bit right here. We saw that hedge fund gross leverage exploded higher, but then we also saw in the last week alone, we saw it drop again. So there's not really a tremendous amount of leverage, according to the hedge fund industry. Um, and what I take that as is this selling here, getting unlevered, was to make room for uh, fourth quarter, right? In addition, let's see here, hedge funds. This is momentum stocks, and look what happened here. I'm positioning on momentum stocks. They've really, really sold off, and they've closed a lot of positions, courtesy of J.P. Morgan here. That means, once again, they're raising cash. They're raising capital. Yes. Uh, this is probably one area of concern. Current positioning is at four-year highs, and relative to uh, the entire cash available. So while that's concerning, it's an absolute number, meaning $66 billion total in longs. But putting that in the context, we'd have to look at that in the context of how much capital is available to be invested out there. So I look at those other indicators that I showed, and those are the ones that are more important to me. Another area of concern, and why I was telling my members this week, we're probably going to have some more selling here into the end of September. This is U.S. pensions have to sell 19 billion of U.S. equities for month end. Okay, 19 billion is in the 89th percentile amongst all buy and sell estimates over the past 3 years, and in the 89th percentile going back to January 2000. What does that tell you? They got a crap ton to sell. But it's not as if uh, it's going to be continual. Remember, they're selling at the end of months and end of quarters. Okay. Just to note, um, that's important to note because if we do get selling in the first couple of days here, which we will, um, it's we need to understand where the order flow is coming from. Is it organic? Is it unique? Or is it part of a much broader market move? I don't think it is, right? I think where we're at right now is exactly what I've been saying, which is the market uh, was going to sell off a little bit. There was going to be some profit taking, okay, and which is what we saw, yes. And ultimately, I think the market, as I have, is lined up for a fourth quarter jam fest to the top side. And I'll make a little bit more comments about that later, but I think that's across all assets. I think that's across Bitcoin. I think that's across Ethereum and stocks. Well, the right stocks if you pick them. So let's look at the overall market this week. It was, here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we actually closed the week lower than we opened slightly. Okay. And makes sense. We've had selling into the market. um, I suspect we're probably not going to break out of here until sometime middle of next week to end of next week on the S&P 500. Again, I have no desire to get long the S&P 500. Where I'd like to, what I call it, express my long thesis will be in the tech sector, Mag 7. Here we go. The Mag 7 is, let me remove this why that was on there. The Mag 7 is riding this, or else the Qs are just riding the mean right now. And if we do bust over this 602 ish, we've got plenty of room, even up to the +2 SD, which is where I think we're going to head. I believe that JP Morgan trade desk put out a note last night that they believe that the S&P 500 will close at 7,000 and at the end of the year. The S&P 500 right now is at 6,600, so a 5% move. Whoop-de-doo. But anyway, it's higher. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't know if you remember if you would listen to my update this week, my end of the day update, but people are starting to freak out about the VIX. Here we go. VIX down, buck 45. Nothing to see here, folks. Okay. I am keeping an eye on the Russell. I wanted to get long small caps. Small caps, I think, are going to be one of the strongest movers into the fourth quarter. You know, now that doesn't mean all small caps. I'll be trading this via an index, a leveraged index fund. Okay. But I don't think the dash for trash ever got started. And um, that's why I would very much like to get long after probably the middle of next week. Yes. Here's Tesla. Tesla waiting for a breakout to the top side. And yes, I would like to get long Tesla because look, I've got the all time high at 488. I absolutely believe they will take that out in the fourth quarter. So that is one that's on my list to watch. I will do that through the TSLL, which is the 3X of Tesla. One of the things that I teach is if you're going to be using options and you're using the time frame that I use, okay, you're going to want to go use uh, options that or ETFs that are levered. Okay, levered ETFs are going to provide obviously a much higher acceleration rate if the underlying stock moves. And we like acceleration, that's part of momentum. And we are momentum traders, right? Silver, I remain in silver. I have a position still up. I think I'm up over 100% in some runners. I'll continue to hold this, but I'm not going to let that position go below plus 75%. I will always have a chance to get back into it. Roblox is yeah, pretty easy to see what I'm looking at here, what I'm waiting for as a break. Break 140, I will get 150. I think that's lined up for that. PPTA had a wicked day on Friday, uh, and it has to do with their antimony processing. I look at this from a technical basis, and yes, I would like to get in. Yes, we just had a breakout, but that's a sort of an ugly breakout candle because we closed below the 50% range on a daily basis. Okay. Uh, while I know a lot of people don't read charts like that, I do because I know the bots do. So I'd like to get in it and nothing to do at this point. PCT, just continued weakness. I don't think PCT is going to move unless there's a news announcement, quite frankly. Um, let's take a look at Ethereum. You'll notice that I don't have a lot of stocks I'm going over because I lightened up this week quite a bit. I'll show you once we get to the open trades and the closed trades and the performance. But Ethereum, we could go as low, I think, as 3,500 on this push. I don't see us going below that, 3,500. In fact, we may bounce here, okay? But I think looking at money flow, looking at how hedge funds, CTAs, and institutions are positioned now, as I just showed you, they have lightened up their risk profile, meaning they've raised cash. I think that we may be through maybe a couple more days of the seasonality in Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I just think there's too much capital that wants the exposure to those assets, quite frankly. So uh, Ethereum, Bitcoin. I have not sold anymore, and I remain long BMNR. If I get a low close doji here on BMNR, I will look to add at that point. Uh, and that may happen on Monday, by the way. Looking at NFX. NFX did okay. If it can get through this 1078-ish level, right here, I will look to add a swing trade. Heck yeah. Looking at EOSE, and there's a bunch of stuff on EOSE. One of the things, so I really last week really scaled down on EOSC. I'll show you the trades in a second here. But looking at EOSC, we had 5 days of them trying to pound it below this $10 level. Okay, we took advantage of this day and we lightened up on Wednesday quite a bit, right? You can, in my mind, what I have seen is consistent buying by institutions. I believe that all of the buying this week, well, the majority of it, 80 to 90%, was institutional buying. We had very high volume days. Okay. I think anything over that 11 million average daily volume, take 80% above of that additional volume. And that was institutional volume. We were triggering, price was triggering off of headlines. What was happening was algorithmic headlines going off. Remember, algorithms react to price. They're reactionary. So they're going to react to price, new price headlines, news headlines, um, any of the above, right? But they are totally reactionary. So I think what happened was we opened up on Monday, okay? Uh, look at where we closed on Friday. So they popped on Monday above $10. When we closed above 10 on Monday, that triggered algorithms, right? So there was the first trigger, went from 9 to 10. The next day, nothing happened. But on this day, look what happened. Pushed it above 11, okay? And made a new 52-week high. Well, even though it didn't hold it, the algorithms will pick up on that it made a new 52-week high, and that's exactly what happened. Uh, they want to close. I kept saying I would love to see this thing close above 1065, and then 11, and they weren't able to close it above 1065 or 11. But on where are we at? On Wednesday, they closed it right at 1065. So the next day comes, they're holding it above 10. Okay. We had good volume on that day too, and then the volume dropped off on Friday, right? Volume was down to 11, 12 million shares, so average volume on Friday. And they really, really tried to pound this thing down and close it below $10. I don't think they're going to be able to be successful in doing that, just on price action and where we're at today in terms of news. Okay. If you go down here, this is my relative volume. This shows me over the last think it's 60 days. Uh, it's not an absolute volume indicator, it's a relative volume indicator. So this is a what do we got? Almost a 3x, three standard deviation move in volume on this day. And then they followed up here. We had very big volume days. Okay. That's again confirms to me that institutions were coming in, institutions are taking a position in it. So let me get to beyond the price. Uh, and I am looking to add back. I've uh, really reduced my EOSE exposure too. So I'm looking to add back that in the next week or so. Now, we have earnings coming up. Let's take a look. Earnings will be released on, one second here, November the 4th. So we're going to be entering a quiet period next week, which means the company can't release any news. I think it's next week. And why does that matter? Well, one of the things that I got into a shorter term trade on was based on my belief that there'd be a news announcement of orders, and we haven't seen anything. So I believe that if they don't announce news, I think the stock could drift sideways to down going into earnings. Now, a couple things happened last week in terms of filings, but the one that caught my eye was they want to double they want to double their shares from 250 million to 500 million. Uh, no company does that if they're not prepping for an offering of some sort. I know how the market reacts to offerings. The market always sells off on offerings, which you've heard me talk about it before. I think that's stupid because how do you expect a company to grow? It's impossible to grow a company using revenues, right? We'll grow it as we make more money. In fact, that's dumb. Okay. And a lot of companies fail because they think they can self fund through their own organic growth. You have to go to the capital markets. So if they are lining up for an offering, which I think they are, okay, it's going to drop the stock because retail, they don't like that. Institutions will take that opportunity to lighten up. That's why we've been lightening up. So what I think could happen is we go into the quiet period. Let's do two scenarios. So leading into the first scenario one, okay, this would be the preferred scenario that between now and the quiet period entry for earnings, okay, um, they announce a contract that pops the stock, and we get to our $15, very quickly. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not seeing that, right? I don't know. People had asked me this week, you know, is it because it's holding $10? Do you think somebody knows something? I don't think so. I don't think they know anything. Um, I think that again, a lot of this was algorithmic buying when you pop over $10. Scenario two would be it drifts or there is no news announcement. It drifts into earnings. Okay. And they announce earnings. And during that announcement, they also announce, or the next day, a share offering. They could announce a contracted earnings, pop the stock, and then announce the share offering. I don't know. I have no, I don't know if they're going to do a share offering. Um, there are warrants that are sitting out there that I believe November 17th is their drop dead date. And uh, I believe their execution price is 1150. So we are messaging one of my team members and reach out to IR and ask them about those warrants. So, if I was pushed into a corner, I would say that there's not going to be a news announcement before earnings. They're lining up to do an offering. Uh, they're going to do something as a combination of that offering with with the warrants, and the stock is going to drop temporarily. I would love that to happen. I want in, I want to get more exposure, okay, into this stock. I pretty much only own now. I mean, I opened a small position size in November contracts primarily for earnings because my first earnings play that I did, I'm already out of it for plus 100%. So I wanted to reload. But I have a lot of dry capital that I'm looking to put into EOSE but I need that earnings announcement. I need to understand where they're at in terms of progression to hit their revenue figures. One of the sentence from Stiefel did, you know, uh, stand out to me, that Stiefel made the comment that after visiting the facilities, they were finding it difficult to, and I'm paraphrasing, difficult to see how EOSE would hit its 2025 numbers. Okay, that's always been a risk. And if that happens, the stock is going to go down temporarily. And I will use that downdraft to get longer again, EOSE. So I think that there is the strong not, let's rephrase that. I got a question from a teammate, and they asked me, how low you think it could go? $8, $8, I think. And also why I'm not doing it for my 2027 calls at this point. I'm almost out of my 2026 Jans, and I'll probably close the rest of those Monday or Tuesday, depending on if we can pop out of here or not. But I have significantly reduced my calendar risk. Other than my two contracts, 2% uh, model portfolio size in EOSE. Um, I don't have any 2025s. I only have a couple 26s left, Jans. I'd already scaled on those. I'll probably look to scale on them next week. So I can pretty much clear the table of everything but 27s, right? Um, and that's, historic from a historical basis. I did put this out on Twitter. We got long here, right? This is my team back in June. And somebody was kind enough, actually in May, they posted, like at the end of May, I was posting about the when to get long down in this area. And the price was 451, I believe. Is that the price? Yeah. And look what's happened since then. I'm not, look, I can't tell the future. All I do is look at price action. And this was a pretty easy one to buy all the way down here. Now I'm saying up at the top here, we could run into some resistance. What would be the perfect scenario and the perfect solution to this, what we're in right now, is the stock just moves sideways. It moves sideways through earnings. It moves sideways through um, uh, any news announcement that could come. Looking at the hiring that's been going on, looking at some of the soft data, I still think, and I haven't changed it. I'll hit $15 by the end of the year. Obviously, a couple things have to happen, right, in order for me to hit that price target. But um, yeah, I mean, we hit 1136. I was close you know, to my 15. I still think 15. I still think this company still has not re-rated, as my podcast uh, co-host talks about. This company hasn't re-rated yet. When that does that, it's going to price up again. So I do want to go back to um, the S&P 500. It's important to note that over the next couple weeks, we are in a quiet period, right, for earnings. So as we enter earnings season, companies are not allowed to make any more public comments. Secondly, um, the buyback window for corporations is closed. So they can't be buying back now as they go into earnings season. So you're going to lose that capital support to the top side. As I mentioned, we've got quite a bit of selling coming from pension funds in the first couple days. And so these, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to probably be watching a lot unless something, huge happens. You know, One of the things that I told my members was the market needs a catalyst. Yes. The last couple of weeks, we haven't had much catalyst. The tariff issue, the tariff stuff, that's gone to the back door, right? Back of the room. Nobody's paying attention. Oh, and then we have the mother of all headliners coming out this week, which is hmm, government shutdown. So I don't care. I think well, let me rephrase that. Uh, I believe that the market will take this opportunity. The market likes volatility. When I talk the market, I'm talking about institutions, professionals, people like me and my team. We like volatility. So right now we scaled down because we knew volatility was coming and we wanted to lock in some of our profits. Why? Because of my first rule trading is protect capital. And scaling for profits is protecting capital. Okay. Um, anyway, the market this week is going to be keying on, okay, this government shutdown and the theatrics behind it. And I normally, when we get that, market drops, right? They have all these headlines, but there's a difference this time because usually one party does not want the government shutdown. Well, this time, uh, Trump is fine having the government shut down because that's going to allow him to lay off, fire a lot of government workers. What do you think that's going to do to the jobless numbers, right? That'll spike them, give Trump a justification to lower rates. Lower rates are coming, period. Okay. Lower rates, that begets more risk into the market, which begets a higher stock prices. Yes. I just don't know the exact timing of that, but I'll look this week for any opportunity to take intelligent longs. um, I'm going to be looking primarily at the tech sector, as well as Ethereum, Bitcoin, and then my usual swing trades that pop up as they're breaking out. But this is for the fourth quarter. I think I will be breakout heavy on trades because there is going to be, I believe, a just a massive, let's rephrase, a large amount of capital. They're going to try to into the fourth quarter, make the bonuses, and push the market higher. And I think the macro behind it supports it, by the way. We had GDP estimates raised again. I think they raised it to 3.0%. Again, in defiance of Powell's said GDP was like 1.8 or something, 1.6. He's a liar and an asshole. So I think that the macro picture looks good on a shorter term basis to support the market going up. More importantly, the cash positions, the risk positions, as I showed you among hedge funds and CTAs, is not at stretch levels. And as long as that remains where the there is plenty of leverage and capital available, we know what the market likes to do. It likes to go up. What could derail that? Oh, some black swan event, geopolitical event, I suppose. But even then, it will be temporarily. And we've had a number of black swan events over the last year and a half, and hasn't really driven the market down at all. They recovered in 24 hours. Um, so I believe that the market continue wants to go up. I don't see really any damage that happened last week. Um, I think that the when I look at Ethereum and BMNR and Bitcoin, it's all about dollars. It's all about money flow. M2 supply continues to grow at record rates. Um, and when you are putting that much capital into the market, it's got to find a place to go, right? They got to beat the interest rate that they're paying on it. So it's going to go somewhere. And typically it goes into stocks. This time, stocks, Bitcoin, Ethereum, seasonalities lining up very nicely for me with Bitcoin and Ethereum and BMNR. So that's excellent seasonalities lining up for me for a bump in the fourth quarter too. Uh, so I am bullish. I think we need to get through the next couple of days. I don't know if when we do that, I don't know if they're going to wait to earnings season to really start gassing the market higher. But yeah, I absolutely see that coming. This is what I did last week. So if I take a look here on 2024, let's get here 1 second. All right. So the beginning of the week was 922, I believe. Yes. And this is all the selling I did. Sold silver, scaled silver plus 40. These are my EOSEs. Okay. I took those on Wednesday when when EOSE was screaming. Uh, and some of these are long holds, right? These are leaps, but great profits. Um, got lucky, not lucky. Yeah, we did sort of get lucky. We got into that and it just popped. Cipher, I took some stops here. Neo, Ampex, uh, our robotics, SoFi, and Wayfair. But overall, the overall portfolio on a cumulative basis went from up 429 to up 460 on a cumulative basis. And that's about a $2,200 gain for the model portfolio, which started at 15. So the model portfolio now sits at 2025 return of 62%. It's grown since May 15th of 2023, $28,000. And our total return is 460% over the 2.5 years, with an average days held of 15 days. Open positions, I'm still in. These are the EOSE Novembers I opened as an earnings play. I'm still in these BM&Rs. Silver, I'm up. Of course, I'm not touching my 27 EOSEs. Not touching. I'm going to have to do some of these PCTs on Monday. I'm looking to roll them. Not touching these. Actually, I got the wrong date on these. These are not October's. These are January, so I got to fix that. Um, BM&R, Ethereum, none of these I'm touching. Okay, because seasonality is in my favor. Here's some more 27s that I'm not going to touch. And then I have these EOSCs up here. So I've got a lot of EOSC left. In fact, I've got 38% in Ethereum, EOSC at 21%. I need to add at least another 15%. I'd like to be at 36%, 35%, right? And then only 8% in other investments. So I'm heavy Ethereum, slightly heavy EOSC, and light the overall market. I did exactly what I wanted. I wanted to lighten up going into this week, raise capital, um, because the market did drop, and looking to redeploy that capital over the next, probably week and a half. Cumulative performance and the portfolio just keeps going up. So obviously that makes me very happy. Winding up here, what do I see? Well, I see in the overall market that, let's go back to EOSE. I think EOSE is positioned just fine in terms of the price. I think they're going to try to hold it above 10. Why? Maybe to do an offering. I don't know yet. But I think an offering's coming. I think that will has a typically that drops the price of a stock. So we'll have to wait and see if that does occur. Um, I don't know if there's a news announcement. I thought there would be one. I think any delay on news, by the way, has nothing to do with EOSC. Remember last year we were talking about the DOE loan, and Mr. Reyes and I were in September saying, we believed it was done, we believed it was done, we believed it was done, and then everyone was losing their mind, and we stayed with what we believed, and it was done. Okay. I think the same thing will happen with the capital fundraise. I think they'll do the capital fundraise. People will lose their mind, uh, and professionals will use that dip down as an opportunity to buy. Why? Raising capital is a good thing. Raising capital for a company is a good thing. And for people to say, "Oh, but the dilution." Well, how the hell do you think they're going to be able to expand? I mean, do we want to continue to go to the debt markets, because then the market, the same people bitching about them raising capital through a stock offering are going to bitch about them, oh, now we have this additional debt on our books, and oh, it's convertible, so it's going to be an over. Look, get it done, get the offering done, raise the capital that you need. Okay. Why would they have to raise capital? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe they want to expand faster. I don't know. We'd have to wait and see. So yes, if they raise capital because they want to put a new jungle gym in the back of the facility, that's going to piss me off. But with Cerberus involved, I think there is a plan. There's a longer term plan. I remain long EUSE. It's something that I think uh, has the chance to be a unicorn. And no, I don't think this move off since June, off the 440 or whatever low it was. I don't think this is the move. This is not the unicorn move in EOSE. Okay, and when that happens, and people ask me, what's going to trigger a squeeze? Speed, price movement. When price starts moving up very fast, whether it's whatever time frame, 5, 10, 15 into the daily, that's what will cause a squeeze, because a squeeze, there's got to be some ingredients. You've got to trigger algorithms. That's the big one. And you got to know where those price levels are. where those algorithms are going to trigger off of. We do, generally speaking, we get it pretty right. So I don't see in any way, I don't see a short squeeze. There's got to be as I said, a trigger event, and it's going to be news. It's going to have to be news. So last week was an attempt at a squeeze, and was we had algorithms right above $10, new 52-week high, hit 11, all these things. I think if we close above 11 and then 1136 at the top here, that's going to trigger more algorithms. So algorithmic squeezes happen based on price only, um, but I think this one's going to need news. I think it will need news in order to finally break free and bust through that 15. Okay. Let's look at the price. I mean, for all the bitching and moaning that people did back here in July, when people are losing their mind, the CFO, uh, for all that, as I said, as Mr. Ray has said, nothing had changed for us. Okay. We had to wait and see, but the stock, the stock dove and we were getting long. So up here, what's going on now, I think we have this consolidation going on. This has been a big move in the last 2 weeks. Okay. It's moved off, it's almost doubled, 80, 70, 80% up. Some consolidation is good. We want some of this overboughtness to burn off. And also consolidation is good because from a financial physics standpoint, the longer we sit here, the more powerful the break is to the top side. Um, but again, this could also break to the downside based on an offering news. How far? $8, right about here. I think we could go as low as that. And yes, at that point, I'll be very interested in being much more long the market. So overall, I think our team, we did an awesome job last week. We were selling into the highs, and now we have raised a significant amount of cash. So we're in a great position. Some changes are coming to my Discord. I have made the decision that I've had so many bots and algorithms, also, or not algorithms. I've had so many bots in there or scammers trying to scam my members. Um, in addition, I've got a lot of free members who've made a lot of money who have never contributed in my Discord. They don't say anything, they don't offer any ideas, they don't even do thumbs up. So I'm going to fix that. The Discord will be going to a paid model on a monthly basis because people are making money as free members, and we're not talking about a couple $100. Okay, we're talking about one member posted life-changing returns. Well, I'm happy for these people, but my Discord, okay, I want a team of traders. I want people that not only take, but they give. And so we're going to move to that model. It's sort of interesting since the Discord's been open, I have we have purged over 1,400 members. And we do that. I just purged another 75 on Friday. I do that because I don't want what I call pew potatoes. I want people that are interested to learn. Look, I don't expect people to be in there every minute, but when you're there, hey, how about offering an idea? How about offering a commentary? Otherwise, you're just taking. So we're going to move that model. Now, the good news also on those revenues is other than me taking any part of it that to cover taxes, we're going to charitably donate the entire amount. So this is not about me making money. I don't need the Discord to make money, and it's a shitty platform to make money anyway. Uh, I make money trading, so I am. That will be a change coming, and we'll set the system up for that. And I haven't decided on a price yet, so back to the market. I'm expecting maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know when the buy bots will be turned on, but I'm expecting some weakness into the first part of the week. Hard to tell, but when it happens, the exact date for when capital starts flooding back into the market to the buy side, we're ready for that. We have reduced our exposure significantly. I am ready for EOSE. I've reduced my exposure on that. And I've actually reduced a little bit on BMNR and Ethereum I think I did a trade 2 weeks ago. So market's going up, money supply continues to grow. I believe the market will continue to go up, And so far, my team and I have been right about that. So have a fantastic weekend. Go Penn State, go Eagles, and Cowboys still suck.
Every time that we showing up, get it while I'm living. All I ever hear's the clock tick, tick, ticking. So I'm about my business and I'm running with it now. They don't wanna give it up, we gon' make it out. Get it while I'm living. All I ever hear's the clock tick, tick, ticking. So I'm about my business and I'm running with it now. They don't wanna give it up, we gon' make it out. It don't get no greater. Feel like I'm on fire. Feel like I'm Johnny Storm. Feel like I'm volatile, explosive. Get close enough, you notice. Your girl act out of character when she see me approaching. Ain't poaching, I'm just saying it's nothing. You punching above your weight, I'm something. She ain't seen no substitute in the 18. That's BA, Baracus, that BS, that whackness. Get no play in my axis, make them jump like AJ Hackett. Guarantee you, in these boots they couldn't walk 1 mile. Really need to go and hang it up like a drunk doll. So behind the times, they should probably rock a sundial. Shattering their dreams, I can make big puns small. Music from the soul, don't need them to help me. If they fiending for the flash, they should take another selfie. Said I'm running.